Okay, the recording is in progress. The time is 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, October the 6th, 2020. And welcome to Constitutional Law. And boy, I tell you, this is going to be a interesting 5.5 weeks. They have changed this course. It used to be a 6-week course. Now it's a 5.5 week course. And this is a very interesting time to be taking this because there are a number of constitutional issues, such as the 25th Amendment, which has to do with the presidential succession issue, because of the illness of the president. The big ticket and big topic, which I'll talk about a little today, is the Supreme Court selection, which is a topic that I dearly am involved with. For many of you who have had me in other classes, you know that I'm heavily involved in commentary, and then you're going to learn some things about me. I see a couple people that I don't recognize, maybe 3 names I don't recognize, but actually only 1 name I recognize, maybe 2. But anyway, those of you who've had me before, you know how I operate, and I'm going to be very helpful to you guys in this particular course if you pay attention to the things that I say. I share with students constantly that I am a very hands-on professor, which you're going to learn quickly. And you're also going to learn that I believe in working with my students with the issues that many face because of the situations that we're facing. I've had a number of students who have contracted COVID and dealing with those issues. And so I'm a very empathetic individual. I am active in the Diversity and Inclusion Council at the college. And I believe in respect. I believe in equality. I believe in education. And I believe seriously in empathy. So I will tell you off the front of the bat, some people look at me, they don't think I am, but I am 70 years old. As of May 3rd, I'll be 71 next year. I'm in pretty good health. Now, I've had some challenges in the last semester, quarter or 2, but overall, I'm doing pretty well for old man. So, and I'm very approachable. I'm not like some people that say, well, reach me during office hours. You're going to find out about my office hours in just a few minutes. So why don't we just go ahead and just get right into it. Today we're going to be a little longer because of the open house aspects, because I try to reserve the last half an hour to 40 minutes for sharing a story with you, and it sometimes doesn't take that long. So let's share my screen right now. Get started here. Okay. How do you guys like the change in Blackboard? Do you like the way it is? It's really, this is introductory. Eventually what's going to happen, as you probably should know or will know, that it's going to be so that you can access it pretty easily on your phone. And I think also from my preliminary conversations with my colleagues on the tablets as well. So it's pretty cool. I get messages telling me things already. So anyway, let's get started. Well, this is me. This is, well, you already know what I look like if you looked at the, um, what do they call that? The student lounge. and you saw my introduction to you, and it told you some things about me. But here is my phone number. This is my cell phone number, this right here. Now, notice what I'm going to tell you next. And I say this, and trust me, there are so many students who don't take advantage of it. Those who do take advantage of it and need it, then I'm able to help you a lot. And I'll read what it says. It says, students can feel free to call me, text me, or email me any hour of the day, except the 25th hour of the day. So those are my office hours. Figure that one out. That's when you can call me, text me, or email me. Now, if it's an urgent matter, I highly recommend that you don't email me. I highly recommend that you text me or call me. Most professors don't encourage that. They discourage that. I'm the opposite of that. And anyone who's been in my classes can tell you, he says what he means and he means what he says. I'm a very student-friendly professor. I have compassion for students. Why? I've been a student. I have children now who are students right now. So I totally understand where you're coming from. You're going to discover that I've worked my way through school. You're going to discover that I had my challenges as well, but that someone helped me. And so I like to pay it forward and teach each of my students to operate the same way. So when you call me, or of course, when you call me, tell me, if you don't get me, leave a voice message. I will get back to you. Don't hesitate to leave one. It doesn't matter whether it's 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. You can text me. Let me give you a caution on texting. Please be sure that you, first of all, tell me who you are, because I won't know who you are. Because I have actually at this particular T1, I have 2 classes, which is good. So I can do more things with 2 classes. Next T2, I will have 3 classes. But at any rate, the point of the matter is that when you text me, tell me who you are, tell me what class you're in, and then tell me what your issue is. And I will oftentimes call you back after I see the text. And if I do, you can either answer or either text me back saying, but I prefer talking. I like to communicate with students. I'm from the era of teaching in the physical classroom. I've adapted to teaching online and work it so that my students are not, as I say, afraid to reach out to me or come to me with their concerns. I'm here for you. All right. Rubrics, rubrics. You see how I highlight it? Very important that you follow rubrics and pay attention to additional course information that I have here on the course home page. So put that together, rubrics with the course home page, and also what's in the module itself, and you will be able to be successful with your assignments each week. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the assignments for this week, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time because I want to talk about some other things. APA and critical thinking are extremely important. Many of you are in school now for the bachelor program, and or you're getting a second degree. So at this juncture in your educational position, you should recognize and understand the requirements for APA. We have plenty of peer tutors. In fact, we have one in the class right here, and you see her there. Ashley is her name, and she's been in other classes of mine, and she's been very helpful, and I appreciate that. I think we also have another another student who is also, that's what I was getting ready to say. I was just getting ready to say Cynthia. Yeah, I love that name. Cynthia. That's my second sister's name. Cynthia. We call her Cint. So yeah, I saw that. I was trying to remember who it was, but welcome to class. You guys don't hesitate to help out, please. You know, I'm one of these professors that I don't think I know everything. I just know almost everything. That's a joke, okay? No, seriously, I keep telling people that knowledge is a two-way street. You share what you know and accept um, assistance from those who can help. And you guys that are peer tutors, nonetheless, I don't know if you saw, did you see the video that I did that Bethany had me to do? Did you, Cynthia and Ashley, did you guys see the video? Oh, yes. And I meant what I said. And Ashley, that you've had me. Cynthia, I don't think you've been in any of my classes, have you, before? No. Well, welcome. And again, I love my students. My students are an extension of my family. My wife always tells me, Dad, you spend more time with your students sometimes. I says, don't go there. But yeah, we're all sheltered in place. So, we got to help each other out through this. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. So rubrics, and you guys understand the importance of rubrics, Cynthia and Ashley, and I want everybody to understand the um, importance of rubrics. And so I tell students all the time that I'm difficult to deal with when you don't satisfy the APA requirements, because APA is so important, and you're going to learn in a few minutes by an academic integrity announcement that you can see on the screen. That's under academic integrity announcement, and the gentleman on there is Dean John Mladic. I know Cynthia, and I know that Ashley know who Dean Mladic is, and he's a very nice guy. He was my dean at Romeoville a few years ago. He's now physically located in Rockford. So, but very, very, very nice guy, and he's from Illinois here. So yay. Okay. And so anyway, APA is so important to establishing academic integrity. When I was in school, we didn't have APA, we had footnotes. And those footnotes were very involved, where we had to put a number that was raised, and then at the bottom of the page, we had to um, um, do the um, put the information at the bottom of the page. So APA involves a lot of stuff, but my main focus is looking at your citations and your references as well. I think I'm right that they're doing away with running head. Am I right, guys? Yeah, thank God. Okay. It didn't make sense to me, but anyway, it it is one thing. But we're in actually, I think we're in seven, APA 7 edition, starting into it now. And I think this is the semester, a quarter, that you can use 6 and 7. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right, guys? Is 7 the deal now, or are we able to still use 6 now and then start in the winter with all 7? Do you guys know that? Only 7. Okay. I knew it was okay. So that was last. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ashley. It's important. But actually, to be honest with you, I think that looking at what I saw with 7, is that it's an easier tool, I think. to use. And all of these guys, you got, like I said again, Cynthia, as well as Ashley. And Ashley's not trying to cover her identity. Uh, she just can't change in the system. The system won't let her. Once once you declare who you are, you stay that way. So make sure you make the right. Yes. Yeah, WebEx loves it. Yeah, that's true. WebEx is like sometimes a monster to us all. So, and while I'm talking about this, because I may forget later, and it really doesn't apply to you guys because you're here, but if you're not in the lectures, I usually convert my lectures to um, YouTube. And here's the problem that I have is that I can convert them pretty fast now, but my issue is that um, because of all the individuals that are using WebEx, there is a delay usually, and it can be up to 48 hours. I haven't really had 48 hours, but I have had close to 24. So, when this lecture is completed, then I will immediately set it up. So I don't like delay in trying to get it out. So, but anyway, APA, critical thinking. They call me the Mr. Critical Thinking and Mr. Empathetic. Those are two issues that relate pretty much to our transferable skills, not empathy, but it's within the concept of dealing with diversity. But critical thinking is one of our direct ones. And critical thinking involves being able to analyze and apply your positions concerning the information. I don't want you to copy and paste materials. And I want you also to be aware that we have a tool called Grammarly, which our peer tutors are trained on helping you with as well, so that if you have a problem there. And here's the deal, you lose points if you go, and I'm very liberal about it, if you go over 25%. There are some professors that do 10%, but I do, and they said that, well, since you get these students who are going for bachelor's, they should have a lower percentage. No, I'm going to just stay at 25. So if you go like 26, I'm not going to, get you. But if you go beyond that, you're going to lose. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose that percentage of your grade. And you'll know that's the problem. So you run your papers through Grammarly, utilize the plagiarism check. You have a Grammarly account that is the part of your attending the school here. And I'll kind of show you where that is in just a few minutes here. If I can, they changed it here. So the resources tab used to be at the top. Maybe it still is. No, I have to find the resources tab because I haven't. Oh, there it is. I see it down there. Okay, they put it all in the margin. So we'll be able to go in and look at that. So APA and critical thinking are very important in all assignments. I'm spending a little time on this because it's very, very, very important. Now, the other thing is, as I said, the additional course materials. I have students every time they say, what you took points off, or you took 2 points off because I didn't do any research. And by the way, there is a textbook in this course, but there is no hard copy of it. Each week, I will send you the PowerPoints and additional stuff to help you. This is not mandatory stuff, but I tell you the truth that as you go through this course, you will appreciate the PowerPoints because they're like a review of the chapter that you dealt with. All right. So you want to make sure that you conduct research. I'd like students to maybe use the textbook as a starting point. However, to get into the habit of providing information from research, that's going to be, I'm a professional researcher. And then back to critical thinking, I'm a professional critical thinker because being a lawyer, graduating from law school, we studied what's called the Socratic method, and that is something that preceded critical thinking, but it actually is a direct, how should I say, application of critical thinking, where we use our noggin and brain to come up with answers to questions. We're not spoon-fed. So very important. And then APA formatted, citations in the body. Now, when you do your papers, do me a favor. Do not put one citation in the paper just to say I get citations, because you're going to lose 3 points for that right off the bat, because citations should be throughout the body of the paper. Important in writing and integrity is to cite your sources. Provide that information. You're going to learn that again in just a few minutes when we go over the video. But it's very important. And citations and references. Reference is a separate page, all right? And you're going to hear these over and over and over. That is very important, because you will lose points right off the bat for that. Cover sheet. Make sure you have a cover sheet for all written assignments. No, I'm not talking about discussion posts. I'm talking about written assignments that are turned in, all right? And then these are various resources that I'm going to skip over. Tutoring assistance, again, I can't state the value of how important tutors are. Let me tell you something. Even if you're a good student, you still might need a tutor, because a tutor can help you. Now, I do tell you this, that the tutors don't do your assignments, but what they do is they guide you and they help you. And I can make a referral if I see you have a problem. One of the tools that I have to my left here is a tutoring thing, and then I can send you to a tutor. We don't know who you'll end up with. You could end up with one of these guys, either Ashley or Cynthia. But the point of the matter is that they're there to help you and to navigate this process. So you can take time to go through that. I'm not going to go through all of that. I have some tremendous articles in here that help you with your research, information literacy, which is one of our transferable skills, dealing with references. One of the things that you will do in con law or constitutional law and in criminal law primarily, uh, PA, if you have a problem with it, our tutors know. But this source right here, referencing for criminal justice students, helps you with that as well. Don't worry about the annotated bibliography, because we don't have to deal with that. There is a video that you can copy and paste and put into your browser on transferable skills and dealing with that and critical thinking here. The rubrics are on the course homepage as well. I think I emailed the rubrics. Did you guys get the rubrics email that I emailed to you? Okay, good, good. Because I make sure that I email the rubrics to you guys so that you have them at the beginning. But if you can't find them, they're always on the course homepage. So like, for example, this week, this is a very easy assignment about the preamble. And I'll talk about that more in detail in just a few minutes. Each week, going all the way down. And then you next week, you don't have to worry about this, the Fourth Amendment project topic. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but next week is when you'll be introduced to it. So today, your assignment is this um, preamble, about the preamble. All right. of the Constitution. When we get to week 5, you have an alternate project. We'll talk about that a little later. Um, and then this is the schedule for live classroom lectures. Obviously, you guys know this link because you're here, and you know that the lectures take place roughly an hour, but an hour and a half today, and that I didn't put October 6th in there, but anyway, I think I put it in the other thing here. But anyway, your lectures next week also will be on Tuesdays, November the 13th, and then they'll go all the way through, except when we get to week 6, because they've shortened the semester, or you'll have 2 lectures in week 5. And when we get there, you'll be aware that week 6 lecture will take place on Thursday. And you need to attend these lectures or give me the keyword. I record the lectures, as I said earlier, and I put them under here. All right. So now let's take a few minutes, and I still can't learn. I still don't know how to do this, but they told me there is a way for me to do this, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to put this video on about academic integrity in another link, and I'm going to take off my headset, and it's going to be closed caption, so you'll be able to see it as well. So it's only about 4 minutes. All right, so let's take some time and go to that. Okay, let me plug this back in. Okay, so that's a little the importance of academic integrity, and one of the things that we want to do. You'll discover that my goal is to produce um, academic, educated, professional, and ethical criminal justice individuals. With all the issues that are happening in criminal justice today, the social injustice issues, whatever position that you take, dealing with the individuals um, that, the Breonna Taylors, the George Floyds, Philando Castile, Trayvon Martins, and the list goes on and on, Walter Scott's, and all the way across the board, that we want you to perform so you stay out of those kind of scenarios. But it adds up to good training, and that's what we're preparing you for in school. Now, the resources tab is a tab that I want to introduce to you right now. Let me close this down. Go back to this. Here we go. Resources tab. So that's where you see the academic integrity video as well. And it gives you all kinds of resources. It talks about the APA guide. It talks about paralegal blue book. It talks about Grammarly, which I mentioned to you, Noodle Tools writing guide, and other issues that you need. By the way, the School of Justice Studies has its own guide. So if you click on subject, it will open up and it will tell you School of Justice Studies. And you go to it and you will see that it's designed to help you specifically with things that I've talked about already. This gentleman over here to the left, Dennis Johnson, is our excellent library and librarian, and he's very capable of helping you with issues. You can even chat with him, schedule an appointment as well. Okay, and so there are all the issues here. There's a lot of good stuff. You take the time to go through it, but it's very beneficial. Bethany Marston, both Cynthia and Ashley report to her. As some say, that's our boss. She's a very cool person. I work with her quite a bit. Very, 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 as I tell people, very straightforward, very helpful, and very supportive as well. All those tools there. She's in Rockford. Okay. So that's our School of Justice Studies. Um, so you can go back. Let's see, let's get rid of that. So you go back to the resources tab. Excuse me. And you see all the different things in here. Okay. So that's where you find that, and you'll see the importance of that. And so now let's take a quick look at our course. Let's look at the syllabus. Yeah, I want to go through that. And this is your syllabus, which you should take time to take a look at. And it tells you, it says required text none, but you know the answer to that is that there is a text, but it is in the, it is not a hard copy. And these are the requirements that you're to satisfy. Notice that in this class, you have readings, you have discussion posts, you have written assignments and a course project. You have a midterm and a final exam. The midterm will be 15 multiple choice and true false questions, and will cover the first 3 modules. So the midterm covers weeks 1 to 3. Final exam consists of 19 and 6 short answer questions. Now, this final is comprehensive. What that means is that it not only covers 3, 4 to 6, but it also covers some materials from 1 to 3. And the deal is, guys, we don't want you, I don't teach you to learn material to pass tests or get good grades. I teach you material so that you can better learn how to be prepared for your future professional career. In the course in the course of doing that, you should obtain good grades. That's because you have those good study habits. Our peer tutors are dean's list and honor roll students, and so they kind of know the way. They can also probably give you some tips on um, uh, getting your time management together, because that's one of the critical issues that can help you, as we all deal with as a professor. So here's the way it breaks down. You have the discussions, 550 points, written assignments, 480 points, course projects, 500 points, live lectures, 60 points, exams, 180. Notice the discussions, how important they are, because some weeks you have 2 discussion posts. This is one of the classes that you do that. The weeks that you have the exams, you'll have only 1 discussion assignment, okay? But you need to do them, all right? Now I'm going to make this announcement once and I'm done. My goal is to get you to A through B minus. I prefer getting you up here, but B's are good. I don't specialize or cater to students to get C's, because you can do that all by yourself. Besides, if you get into that mode as a habit, you're going to do yourself a disservice. For you're spending good money for your education and time. I've been successful because I had times when I had a slip, but that was like way when I was in undergrad school, and I had some issues, C's, and I never got anything below a C. But the point of the matter is, and they were so rare. God, they were rare. I stayed on the dean's list and honor roll, even with some of the things you're going to learn about me. The point of the matter is my goal is to help you to do that, A and B. All right. Don't even call me and ask me how to get a C. I won't answer you. I will not be rude. I'm just going to tell you the things. I mid these
Excuse me, Professor Wright. Can you?
Yes.
You're going in and out. We're not hearing you. Your connection is weak or something.
Right. That again.
Yeah. Yes, you're going in and out. We're not getting all of your everything you're saying. Oops.
Okay. Is that better?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay. It's just the bandwidth. It has to do with, and let me know because I get a little quick note, but you know, they tell us to keep our cameras on, but sometimes we have to turn them off because there's some, remember what's happening to us, people. This system was never designed to be used by this many people at the time that it's being used for. Therefore, it's what we call information overload that's hitting it, and you know it crashes as well. So let me repeat what I was saying. So written and oral communication is so important, and it is something that you really want to stay on top of. I have shared that as a criminal lawyer, defense attorney, I have caught many law enforcement officers, correction officers, and other criminal justice professionals on the stand, cross-examine them because their reports were not grammatically correct. And I use those points, even though what the point may have been understood is to read it out. And what it does is it puts them in a position where they become defensive, and it throws you off and it makes you look unprofessional in front of the trier of fact, whether it's the judge or the jury. But those are little things that that we use. The point of that is that's why it's important to get that grammar right, the spelling, and be able to express yourself in a proper fashion as well, and know what you're talking about. Digital fluency, everything is digital now, from um, um, our phones to everything's digital. Everything around you is digital these days. And you even go into the grocery store, it's digital. You see they're replacing a lot of the clerks, and you know you're having the machines to rely upon. So digital fluency is, we want you to be fluent in using Blackboard, being able to utilize Word. And while I'm mentioning it now, please, when you submit your assignments, do not use PDF assignments. I need Word documents. It says it within the requirements. And when you submit a PDF, I can't go through and check it out. So you're going to get a 0, and then you'll have to resubmit it. Diversity and teamwork. I shared earlier I am on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. I'm an individual who understands the importance of diversity and inclusion. As a 70-year-old African American male, I grew up during the era of Jim Crow, where segregation was strong. Unfortunately, people are pushing for it to come back again. That's the sad part. And then we are a very diverse population, people. We have people from all backgrounds, ethnic group, races, and people should be respected. And so the unfortunate part about it is that there is an attack on diversity from the way that our government seems to be operating oftentimes. And I'm not going to elaborate politically on that. You understand where I'm coming from. But we totally want you to be able to respect each other. People have different sexual preferences, religious beliefs. I'm a pastor of a church. I'm a Christian, but I also have fellowship with, uh, they call us Protestants. Then you have Catholics. You know, we worship together. I was raised in a big Jewish law firm, so I had a yarmulke. I know about Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and all those things. I always used to tell my friends, you can invite me to all the events that you have, but don't invite me to the brisk. And if any of you guys know what I'm talking about, you'll laugh about it. Usually, young men around 12 years old begin to learn about that. But you may know what I'm talking about. But anyway, you don't want to go there. So the point of the matter is that there are various cultures. Um, we have people that speak different languages than we do. We need to be able to reach them. Teamwork, you're going to be working with individuals from different backgrounds, prosecutors, defense attorneys, forensic scientists, paralegals, probation officers, parole officers, um, FBI agents, police officers, and it just goes on and on and on, and they're going to make up a part of your team. In this class, the way we work, teamwork, is we help each other by communication through the student forum there in the student lounge, introducing yourself, and then also getting to know each other and working together each week with the discussion forums. I don't believe in shooting anybody down. I don't want you to agree because I take a certain position, because I don't. I want you to be able to support your position. That's the key thing that I want you to be able to do. Ethics and professional responsibility, we've kind of talked about that, but ethics are so important. Do the right thing, even if it takes more time. Shortcuts, um, and not doing, not following, and see, the plagiarism that you get for Grammarly hits is not exactly the same plagiarism that's in the academic integrity. What the plagiarism hit you get there is because you don't have enough critical thinking included in your papers. The key thing that I want you to do is know what's happening inside that great mind that you each have, and be able to successfully navigate the waters. And then think of me as a coach and you're the players on the team. You can always, hey coach, I need your help, so and so, so and so. Or don't ever use the phrase, this sounds like a stupid questions. Most stupid questions are questions that are not asked and could have been asked. But don't do that to yourself. It's a disservice. Then the final one is information literacy, being able to use critical resources, or important resources. There is one resource that we tell people, students, right away, never to use. Anybody know what that resource is? Can you type it in the chat box? I will see it. You know the name of it? There it is. Yep, yep, yep. Wikipedia. Wikipedia. And I see students all the time. I look, oh man, they have good information. I say, well, it's not reliable. And the reason is as you probably already know, is because, and Shay, good to see you, Shay. I knew we talked the other day. Happy that you have joined. Shay has been a student also in a number of my classes. And so, um, good to see you. Good to see you. Yay. I say to you, God is able. Okay. Anyway, the truth of the matter is that, thank you. It is important that we uh, work together as a unit to get things done. Okay, respect, and again, information literacy is my point. Credible sources. Okay, credible sources. Do you know where we find the most credible sources? Anybody? and where we can, if you're going to utilize a system that we have? Yay! Okay. Yes, the Rasmussen Library. I told you these peer tutors are awesome. You know, I had to tell Bethany, hey, I got two in my class. But yes, guys, use the library. Use the library. When I was in school, we used the library, but we had to go there because there was no virtual anything. I'm spoiled this term. That's okay. I feel like I have two assistant teachers. So cool. Two thumbs up for you guys. I don't have my video on, but I have my thumbs up. So awesome. And shout outs to you guys. I appreciate you. So anyway, let's get credible sources. That's not to say that you can't use other sources. Like I use Google and Yahoo, but I use them with credible sources. There are some things that we don't have in our library and learning system that you can find. Like, for example, I use law reviews a lot in my research. And when I use those law reviews, some of them are in our library and learning center, but some are not. But anyway, the point of the matter is that's a very good place. All those sources have been vetted, and the school pays to utilize those resources. So that's our transferable skills. Attendance policy, I won't talk about that. I do want to talk about the late assignment policy. Students may submit assigned work up to a week after the deadline. Don't get comfortable with that. Because if you read the rest of it, it says you'll lose 10% each day. Okay. Now, when it comes to discussion posts, well, I'll hold that. I won't jump into that yet. But with written assignments, each day you'll lose 10%. So let's say your assignments are due on Sunday, which we're not just saying that because that's true, except when you get to week 6. Your assignments start off with a perfect paper. You've got APA, you got the content good, you satisfied the rubric, boom, and it's submitted on Sunday. And I go through it and I read it, and I read every one of them. Then you will see a good grade of 100. But let's say you turn in that same paper on Monday. Monday, you'll get 10% off, or 90. Or let me say if it's 100 points, you'll get 10% off. So 10% of whatever that grade is. Then by Tuesday, you'll get 20% off. By Wednesday, 70%. You see what I'm saying? So really by the third day, you're down to C or D work. Certainly by the fourth day, you are at D or F work. So that is something that is very important. That's a school policy. However, the third paragraph, instructors may waive the late penalty or time frame in extenuating circumstances as determined by the faculty. You have an open door to reach me. Let me know what kind of problems you're having. If you're having struggles, I understand. I know about some of my students because they reach out to me and confide in me. I am here to be of help to you. And I have never let a student down. Never, ever, ever. And students don't let me down either. They let themselves down. But there is no excuse in my classes. I can't speak for other professors about how they operate in rooms. Some of my colleagues will say, man, you open yourself up too much for your students. I said, that's okay. That's all right. I live for my students and my family and my church and those kinds of situations. But anyway, the point of the matter is that I'm here to help you. But I gotta know. Let me know. And don't wait until, like, I have students that get halfway through the course, they says, well, in the first week or two I had this issue, and then I said, why didn't you let me know? I do tell you this, that after week 3, when we get to the second part of the course, I don't allow written assignments from weeks 1 to 3. We'll be talking about that later on. But the point of the matter is that you can get them in late, but I got to know, otherwise you're going to be losing points. And everybody who has had me in classes before know that if you reach out to me and say, I'm having this issue, I'm having that issue, I'm going to work with you. I have never, ever, ever, ever turned a student away from help, because I do appreciate you wanting to get everything done. Now let's go back to online discussions. Online discussions are due on Tuesday nights, which is tonight, for your initial post. Your reply posts are due Saturdays. Now, I do encourage you to reply to more than one post. That's okay. I appreciate it. I do appreciate citations and references, but they are not required. There are students that tell me, oh, I forgot to put it in. That's okay. It's all right. I want you to have the detailed discussion posts. I don't want those one-liners, two-liners. Elaborate. Write your discussion post so that you demonstrate that you've put some thought into responding to the post itself. All right. But here's what I'm going to say to you. And this is my rule. Well, this is school rule. The discussion forum ends Saturday night, except with week 6. Saturday night at 11:59 p.m. my time. I know you're in different time zones, but Central Standard Time. Now, here's what I'm going to say. Every day that you're late with an assignment, that's a discussion post, you'll lose a point. And you'll lose points for content as well. But here's my point. If you submit your discussion posts or a discussion post, initial post, by Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm going to give you a bonus that you can submit your reply post by Sunday. Yes, this forum is over, but I'm giving you, when we call in golf terms, a mulligan. I'm giving you some grace points, and we say in church, we're giving you an opportunity to extend that. However, you will lose a point, but it can be done. If you submit your discussion posts, initial and reply post on that Sunday, deal's off. Deal's off. All right, you get no points for it. So that's the way that works. I won't talk about the incomplete grade policy. I won't talk about this either. You can take time to go over this yourself. All right. So now that I've gone over that, let's go and look at the course calendar. As soon as I can get the course tools, here we go. Course calendar. And there it is right there. And it tells you class has started yesterday, your reading assignment, tells you your discussion posts. And if you click on these, by the way, they open up, okay? And then your reply post is due Saturday. Then your written assignment is due Sunday, along with your key phrase. If you click on this, it will tell you the preamble. And then it will tell you your live classroom lecture point. All right. And then we do that each week, all the way until we get to, let's go into November. By the way, we do have a lecture on election day. I have to do that because I have to keep you guys moving forward, because the course ends a week later. So we will have a lecture, which, by the way, let me make my public service announcement now. This is the most important election in the history of my life, which has, I couldn't vote until I was 21, but now they let you vote when you're 18. Get out and vote. Get out and vote your conscience. And I don't tell people who to vote for unless they come and ask me. but I do my public stuff that I do. But my point is that it is important. People died for it, and I totally encourage you to vote. Don't. It's one of your most important responsibilities. So on November 3rd, if you have not done so before, I'm not a early voter because I'm kind of leery of some of the things. I'm from Chicago. I've seen all kinds of things happen. I don't like the mail-in things because of all the crazy things I've been hearing and so forth and so on. But anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. So vote, 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 vote. Okay, I'm done with that. A week later, the course ends on the 10th. So if you want to think it's going to end on the 11th or the 15th, you're going to be out. It used to be like that, but this is now a 5.5 course. So therefore, the course actually ends on Tuesday, because what happens on the 11th, the term 2 starts. So that is it. All right. So make sure you're aware of that. I will be covering that every single week. Let's go to the course home. And you have every week on the left side of the page, you have these announcements, things that'll help you. I won't repeat those. This reminds you of what I talked about, that due to social distancing practice related to COVID-19, WebEx on the rise, delays in getting WebEx recordings. So I will post it just letting you know that. And then each week there will be an announcement. But before that, I'm not going to spend time on it because you should have looked at it. You received a welcome announcement. Pay attention to all of these highlighted points, and it reminds you about today as well. Okay. And then each week there will be an announcement at least once. Sometimes I have extra announcements. So let's look at the announcement for today. For this week, Foundations of Constitutional Law, chapters 1 to 3, the text, Constitution and the Supreme Court. Complete the activities. And so we're going to talk a little bit about a few of these things as well. And then the link here is in here for your live lectures, which you already know, discussion forum, exploring judicial review, and the important amendment. And then the preamble, that's your written assignment, and then it reminds you about the open house. Adversity is the springboard that assesses my motto. I will talk about that in about, I should be talking about it now, but I'm going to go ahead now and take you into module 1. Okay, so each week we go over first the assignments. The assignments, the preamble. So what you're going to do with this assignment, and I already showed you the rubric, is you're going to rewrite it in your own words, add anything you think that needs to go in there, make it contemporary, and you know, put in there, you know, what made you say these things, why you say it. Make sure you have a cover page. I'm not going to be so much concerned about, I mean, unless you use a source cited, but these are very easy for me to grade because I want to see that you followed what the rubric says. Add anything you think is missing, make it contemporary and relevant to our present day. A lot of stuff happening. Make sure it speaks to all possible future times as the framers attempt to do, okay? So you already need to follow the rubric. Of course, that assignment, again, is due this Sunday. Then your discussion post. Judicial review. What do you think that it is fair that you don't get to elect uh, these individuals. The president appoints. That, people, is the hot topic of the day right now, as you know, with Amy Conant Barrett, after the passing of one of our great Supreme Court justices, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I love that woman. I was hoping that she would stay healthy after the election, but we're dealing with something now, and there are issues that are taking place with movements to accelerate the selection of this next candidate. So the question that people need to be aware of is that when you're appointed to these positions, particularly U.S. Supreme Court, you're appointed for life. And the question, do you think it should be for specific terms, and why or why not? I've kind of supported, explained my position on there. You guys can explain your positions very well. But this is a very hot topic, and we won't be through with this just after this discussion forum. We'll be talking about this more throughout the coming weeks as well. What do you think is the most important amendment relating to criminal law, and why? Now, you should be aware that the amendments that primarily deal with criminal law are the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, the Sixth Amendment, speedy trial and right to counsel, and the Eighth Amendment that deals with cruel, unusual punishment. Those are the main ones that involve. And the fourth is so important that we have a project that we'll be doing that. So say what your most important amendment is that relating to criminal law. Now, the First Amendment doesn't really directly relate to criminal law. But as I said, the ones that primarily fit that are the Fourth, the Sixth, and the Eighth Amendment. Those fit. Some people try to squeeze in the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms issue, but that kind of fits when you deal with gun control. But dealing with the criminal procedures, you're going to spend more time talking about the Fourth Amendment, then the Sixth Amendment, and then the Eighth Amendment. Okay. And then our live classroom lectures. Those are assignments for this week. Okay, we're coming along. So these are your assignments again, reading chapter 1 to 3, the Constitution and the Supreme Court, and then your written assignments down here. So there, as you should know, our Constitution is divided into a preamble. The preamble, you have a written assignment for that. And the preamble, you know, is just a basic statement that actually should fit into the context of the amendments and articles that follow. And the preamble is here right in front of you. Our Constitution consists of articles and amendments. The Article 1 involves the legislative branch. That's the, I'm going to stay on the federal level, the House and the Senate. The House consists of 435 members. The Senate consists of 100 members. The executive branch consists of the president and all those who operate under the power of the president, his cabinet or her cabinet, if we have a female president one day. And then the executive branch will operate in that. The judicial branch, which is headed by our United States Supreme Court. And so Article 1 to 3 cover the setup of the separate powers of branches that have checks and balances and things of that nature. Okay. And the last four articles, as they say, create a map for power in the country, and a group of people in this country wanted to create a new state. One would look at Article 4 for guidance there. Then our first 10 amendments are the Bill of Rights. If you click on that, it'll open it up for you. Now, as I said to you already, here they are. The most important amendments for us for purposes of criminal justice and criminal law is the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, and the Sixth Amendment. We'll be talking about those intermittently throughout the course. All right. The Supreme Court, again, as I share with students, way back when Marbury versus Madison, the United States Supreme Court says that it is the Supreme Court, or it is the judicial branch, that determines what the law of the land. The president or the executive branch enforces the laws. The legislative branch writes or actually um, issue the laws. The president has his executive orders. However, if an executive order conflicts with a law that's passed, there could be a problem. And we've had that in this administration going on with the use of executive um, powers in terms of these executive orders being issued. Judicial branch, United States Supreme Court. Again, think about what's happening here is that United States Supreme Court has taken a new look within the last 3 years. And like I said, again, we're at an imminent stage here about the Supreme Court. The question that is before many of us, but it has kind of tangentially to do with the Supreme Court, is should that Supreme Court justice be selected before the election or after the election? But it's unfortunate that there's a double standard that's taking place because of the fact that when President Obama was president and he wanted to bring Merrick Garland on as Supreme Court justice, the Senate, controlled by the Republicans, refused to give a hearing, and now the shoe is on the other foot. They want to now do it before the election. So it's a double standard. I have some concerns ethically as far as that's concerned. That's to each his own. But anyway, the important thing is that the Supreme Court is such an important role that it controls. And you've heard already how the Supreme Court that is going to be facing cases like the Affordable Care Act, dealing with the abortion issue. There are going to be other race issues, that voting rights is an issue. There's so much that's happening. So as we already know, the Supreme Court is appointed by the president and not the public. But once they are there for life or impeached, impeachment doesn't really happen very often. Usually it's by death or retirement. And in the case of the selection now, is because of the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So that's the setup for this week. Any questions before I give you as quickly as I can what I want to tell you about adversity as a springboard to success? Any questions? Type in the chat box if you do. Talk about the live classroom. No, I didn't give the key phrase, if that's what you're talking about. Okay, no, I didn't talk about that. Good question. If you use resources, if you use sources to get your information to support your position, the answer is yes. Yes, that's a good question though. So what she's asked is that, and then make sure you cite in the body of the paper what information it is that you're utilizing. So thank you for that question. Anything else? I do want to tell you that make sure that when you do your papers that they're double spaced. I would appreciate that. I mean, you know, you can do, I mean, some people have done this assignment in single space, and I won't penalize you, but I do encourage you to get into the habit, because all your written assignments are going to be double spaced, with the exception of your, again, discussion posts. Okay, anything else? Okay, so now I want to go back into the classroom now. And I want to talk to you about um, the information that I said at the bottom of the announcement: adversity is a springboard to success. I believe that people can succeed in adversity. Let me share with you my adversity. And I apologize for a couple of you that I know that know about it. I know that Ashley knows about it. I know that Shay knows about it as well. And some of you who are not here today also know about it. When I was 7 years old, my dad was killed in front of my face. He was stabbed to death with a knife by a man who turned that lived with us. And the guy did not go to jail for doing that. I was 7 years old, and I have a photographic memory, so I remember what happened. That was in 1957, long before you guys were around. And so the guy continued to stay in the house with us. No charges were brought against him. And then um, for the next 5 years, up to 62, we lived in the west side of Chicago. The guy used to physically assault my mother, so I grew up in a home where there was serious domestic violence. And so my mother, in the meantime, had two children. She had already had me as the only boy and five girls when my father was killed. Then she had two more kids that were girls by this person. So in 62, we moved from the area to Gary, Indiana, in a nice community of Gary called Terrytown, and he moved with us. Well, an aunt came and stayed with us, and then there was nothing much going on. He didn't try to do anything to my mother. And then in 1963, in around March or April, she left and went back home to be with her husband. Well, Memorial Day of 1963, um, the man killed my mother, murdered her, and not in front of us, but he stabbed her multiple times and drove her body from Indiana to Illinois and parked, and she died. So here in 63, I was 13 years old, and I had seven younger sisters. The baby was still very small, and I was the only boy. And so what happened is that we were taken from Indiana back to Chicago to stay with an aunt, one of my mother's sisters. She really didn't want us there, but we ended up there anyway. And so she made it clear to us that they were going to split us up. Well, that was very distressing because we had been together all our lives. Bad enough to lose your parents, but here we go where she was going to do that. She made us work hard at her home like we were servants at the house. Her kids could go to the YMCA and do all kinds of things, but we were not privy to that. We were told that we were not very, how we say it, because of her sister, who was my mother, was not, didn't make wise choices, that we're a product of that and we will be that. So anyway, an aunt that came earlier and stayed with us in Gary came back when she heard what was going to happen, and she said, "We're not splitting up anybody. She's taking all us kids." And she had a house built with her and her husband. And we moved into that house in 1964. And when we moved into that house, her husband and I started having problems right away because he wanted me to take his name, and I didn't want to, out of respect that I was the only one who could carry on my dad's name. And so it was a really challenging time and tough time for me. Well, I found out when I was 14 years old, 64, that the man who killed my father and mother had pled guilty and was going to receive 10 years. 10 years. But in those days, because of good time, 10 meant 5. And for further good behavior, it could end up being um, 3.5 years. And ultimately, that's how much time the man got. Well, that troubled me. And I was violating the rule of talking about what happens in the house because I was concerned. It troubled me. It was bothering me that this didn't seem right. And so then somebody finally brought to my attention these people called lawyers. And I went to the library at my school. I was in 8th grade at that time and asked the librarian for a book. She had a small book on lawyers or attorneys, and I checked that book out and read it cover to cover, guys, in one night. And the next day, anybody I met, I didn't care if I knew you or not, I introduced myself as Richard Wright and said, I'm going to be a lawyer. I was a little 14-year-old kid then. Immediately, opposition came from many people. One of who was leading the charge was the aunt that we stayed with at first, that told me that I don't think you're going to be successful at that. While I was in, and then so then I graduated from high school. I graduated to high school, 8th grade, and the counselors at school, when I told them what I wanted to do, they said, "No, you should go and get a trade." At that time, you should be aware that this is the first time I had gone to schools with whites. Prior to that, I had gone to schools only with blacks all the way through grammar school. So it was a challenging period, and I always handled it like this. I didn't tell them what I was going to do. I just did it. My grades were not A's and B's at this time. I had A's and B's, but I was involved in a lot of demonstrations and marches, protests in high school. I also was involved with the debate team, and my debate teacher was my division teacher, a guy named Rich Trout. He, said, "What do you want to do?" And I told him I want to be a lawyer. He says, "Good, you'll be a good one." And so he, to this day, is a close friend of mine. Even right now, we keep in touch with each other. But he encouraged me. So anyway, I ended up, you know, deciding I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to work for the FBI and then get my degree by working for the FBI. So I would have to go to DC. Well, I put an application in for the FBI, and along with one of my other classmates, who was a Caucasian guy, he got accepted. I didn't. I would find out many years later that I was rejected not because of anything except my race. At that time, J. Edgar Hoover was not accepting, this was 60, 67, 66 year, around that time, not accepting minorities and women as FBI agents. So I decided I would have to try to do another thing. Well, in the house that I was living in with my aunt and uncle, there was a lot of confusion. My uncle got into it with my aunt. They had guns, and it was also pretty bad. I didn't like this man either. And I found out years and years later that he sexually assaulted many of my sisters. And so I had a feeling there were some things there that weren't right. At any rate, I pressed on through that. And I became active in the community, spending time getting to know friends, staying out of the house as much as possible. I had 2 jobs. I was a paper boy, and then I also worked at McDonald's. I participated in basketball for a little while, but I had to stop because of my work schedule. I also found myself in a situation where the church that was in the community that I became active with and became a youth leader in that church, when it came time for me to graduate from high school, they offered me a scholarship, but my aunt and uncle had to sign. My uncle refused to sign because I wouldn't take his name, and I said, that's okay. I'm still going to do this. And I was respectful with them and told them when I came out of high school, which was in 1969, that I was going to uh, go on and do it through junior college. And that's what I did. I ended up staying with some friends of mine, and their mom let me come and stay at their house. And while I was living there, um, or before I came to live there, um, my friend's mom knew a secretary at a big Jewish law firm in downtown Chicago, got me a job there working in their mailroom. I started in their mailroom and started classes at night. I didn't have a car. I used to carry my books. I mean, 2 armloads of books. I would have to be at work at 8:30 in the morning, and then I would end up having to be in class at 4:30 Monday through Thursday, and then on Saturdays. But I stayed on the honor roll and dean's list. I had my challenges, but I still stayed on there. In the meantime, I decided to do something. In 1970. I got married to the young lady that I was dating in high school, and she started school to become a teacher, and I was studying pre-law at Loop College, and became active in student government. And the law firm saw how well I was doing, so they turned me into a file clerk, and I became a file clerk in the law firm. All the lawyers knew of my reputation of wanting to become a lawyer, because when I was a messenger taking their mail, I let them know that's what I was going to become. So my work ethic, along with my grades, demonstrated that I was focused on that mission. So we ended up, one child came in 71, one child came in 72, 2 girls. I ended up finding myself at the point where it was time to leave Loop College. So I went to Roosevelt University and declared major political science, minor in accounting. And again, I continued on the bus, and I would study on the L and on the buses. It was very, very, very challenging. Get home, grab a bite to eat. We had our own little small apartment. We had a mattress, and then we had, after the 2 kids were born, we ended up sharing one bedroom. We had their bed, they shared beds, and it was tough. But at any rate, we decided that we were going to do this. She's in school and I'm in school. So I ended up coming to the point, time to take the LSAT. So I took the test. I didn't do the best on the test, but I knew that I was smarter than that. So I decided that I wanted to go to one school and one school only. I was told to apply to 3 schools, and I said, no, I'm going to apply to one school, and that's Northwestern University School of Law, which, as you know, I graduated from. I got into the school, and I had to leave the law firm, take a leave. Oh, by the way, let me say this, that I was a file clerk, then they made me a law librarian, and then I taught myself how to do legal research, so they made me into what's called a paralegal, but I was a law clerk. And so I taught myself how to do legal research manually. There was no such thing as the internet and any of these things at this particular time. So at any rate, I started law school in, oh, let me go back. Let me back up. So I applied to Northwestern University School of Law, and I filled out my application. And usually the applications are about 6 to 8 pages, and you fill in the information. When I finished my application, I had supporting documents that was big enough to fit into a nice sized box. And I asked one of the lawyers, who was a adjunct professor there, or a visiting professor, if he would deliver my package to the admissions office, which he did. A few days later, I got a message or a call from the Northwestern University inviting me to come. They had initially said that they didn't have time for interviews because they had so many students that were vying for seats. But they wanted to see who was behind this package. So I went to the school and I sat in a room and I was interviewed by about 4 people for, it seems like for an hour or two. And they asked me questions about my package. And then they took a break and then they came back. And they said to me that we like everything we saw. We don't use this kind of process to select students, but we like what we saw. So what we're going to do for you is we're going to send you some correspondence in the next couple of weeks or week or so, and I think you'll be happy with it. Well, that was their way of saying informally that they were going to take me into the law school. So I did. I got accepted into the law school. September or August of 75, we started classes. And it was actually late August. We started classes. Well, came September, and by this time, by the way, I graduated with honors from Roosevelt University, and all kinds of, I was written up in newspaper and all kinds of things. If you go on Facebook and you're my friend on Facebook, go to Richard Wright JD, and you'll see a lot of this information about myself as well. But at any rate, I started school, and my wife at that time, she started teaching. Well, this was the time they went on their very first strike. When they went on strike, she was the one that was working. We lost our income. It was tough going through law school because there's so much work, especially at Northwestern in the first year. Well, as it turned out, I found myself, well, my grades were sliding. I was very concerned. So I went to one of my professors, her name was Joyce Hughes, and I said to her that I was going to take a leave of absence. She said, before you do that, come to my office. She took me to her office, or I met her at her office. She sat me down, stood in front of the door, blocked the door, and said to me, Richard, you're a smart kid. Um, you're not getting out of this room until you decide to stick it out. And so we were there in a little while. We went back and forth, back and forth. So I finally decided, okay, not just to get out of the room, but because I said, okay, if she saw this in me, okay, we'll do it. Long story short, of course, I graduated 3 years later, and she was one of the first people that I congratulated. And by the way, she's still at the law school even right now. I graduated in 1978, and I go back and visit her and see her. If you go on my Facebook page, you'll see me with her. She has white hair now, and you'll see me with her. At any rate, I made it through law school. While I was in law school, uh, one of my classmates, his dad was a distinguished criminal defense lawyer, Eugene Pencham, who would later become a judge and justice of the appellate court in Illinois. He invited me to come to his house, and his dad would sit down and talk with us, about 4 or 5 of us, about being lawyers. And I told him my story about what I went through as a child and my parents. He said you needed closure. So he took me to the criminal courts building, and we went down into the lower level of the criminal courts building, and I ended up getting my copies of the files, which I have to this day, as to what exactly happened with my mom and with my dad. And so it was pretty challenging. And so he told me, he says, I'm going to make a recommendation to you. If you want to learn about this system, I know you probably want to be a prosecutor, but become a defense attorney. And I respected him, and I took him up on that. So I decided to become a criminal defense lawyer. So while in law school, and I graduated, here comes, I started, I went back to the law firm, and I decided I was going to stay for a few years. But I ended up with my next child, another girl, 3 girls I had, and they are not pictured in the pictures that you see. But if you go on Facebook, you'll see them. At any rate, the point of the matter is that I continued to press on. By the way, we lost our electricity because we couldn't pay the bills. I had to study by candlelight. We had to eat food out of cans. It was a real challenge. Uh, and because my first wife at that time, the strike lasted for about 2 months, it seems like, and it was pressure. But then the bottom line is that I persevered through that adversity again. And so I reached the stage where it was 1980, and I decided I'd leave the law firm and I would start working with some other lawyers. I didn't like their ethics, so I started Richard Wright, an associates attorney law firm, and I started practicing primarily criminal law, but I did entertainment, sports, radio, TV. I did family law. I did corporate law because I learned about that from the big law firm, where I met people like Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, and other individuals. The current governor of Illinois, Pritzker family, I got to know them. They're, by the way, they're wealthy because of Hyatt, the hotels. And so anyway, the bottom line is that I learned a lot. So here I am practicing primarily criminal law. My practice grew. I hired several lawyers. I had a law clerk or paralegal. I had a secretary. I had a couple messengers. So the law firm was going on. I started doing radio, created a program called Know Your Rights, which was spelled WRIGHTS. My phone number for the office was 974-4487. I had two numbers, 974-4487 spelled WRIGHTS. And so I became very popular. And so I continued practicing law. My first wife and I separated and ended up divorced in 87. And I ended up meeting a young lady, and I was dating her. I ended up with her, and she and I joined her church, and her and I have a daughter too as well. That's my fourth daughter, and we ended up with a situation where her mother became the village president of a tough town called Ford Heights in the south suburbs of Chicago. Needed a village attorney, so I took the job, but I told her I wouldn't take the job unless I can carry a gun. Said you can't carry a gun unless you become a police officer. So I did become a part-time voluntary police officer. I went to the academy and became certified and worked as a police officer from 89 to 93, participating in drug raids and traffic stops and among other things. And so I did all of that. I was an investigator because the chief of police turned out to be crooked. So I was involved heavily in that kind of stuff. Well, 91, well, actually I started in late, like 90, 89, 90 in seminary, but I became heavily involved 91 to 93 at Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, where I studied for my Master of Arts in Religion, became a minister in 89, and and as I said, my daughter was born in 90 to the second marriage, and I was working in the positions I just told you about. Well, I would find out that she and my former pastor were doing their thing. So we ended up splitting up in about 93. And I announced to my office that I probably was going to be winding down my practice. And I basically shut down my office in 95 and started working from home. And periodically, I would still go to court and represent people. Well, I met a young lady, and that's the one that you see on the picture. Now with me, we've been married 26 years. She and I have 4 kids. You see on the picture. I finally got my boy. So I got 2 boys and 2 girls there with her. So I announced in 2000 that I was retiring from law, and I began teaching special education. I began dealing with at-risk youth. I started working for a janitorial company that had contracts with Service Merchandise, a national company that doesn't exist anymore. I started doing closings for title companies where people would refi in their homes. And so I did that. And finally, in 2000, I think it was 2011, someone brought it to my attention that there was this school I had never heard of that was looking for an adjunct professor to teach business law. And that school was Rasmussen College. And so I applied for the position to teach residentially online at the Romeoville campus. I was hired for the position, and immediately I let the dean know that I was a criminal justice person. And so I ended up finding myself in the situation where I started teaching criminal justice at Rasmussen residentially. And then it came about 2013 or 14 that they were 13 actually, or or maybe even late 12, that they were going to go online with the program. So I had to learn how to teach online. I had never done that, never even taken an online class. So I ended up um, taking that position. In 2014, a position opened up for a full-time position to teach full-time, and then apply for state program coordinator of the School of Justice Studies for Illinois. I applied, and of course I got the job, where my responsibility were 4 campuses: Romeoville, Aurora, Tinley Park, and then Rockford. And I used to have to travel to those schools and meet with the administrators and librarians and various individuals. That's where I first met Bethany Marston. By the way, when I switched over into criminal justice, the dean that was there was John Mladic, that you saw earlier. So anyway, I ended up taking the job. In 2015, they changed it, did away with state program coordinators, and I became an assistant professor. Then I became an associate professor, then an assistant professor. And now, as of the last 3 or 4 years, I've been known as Professor Dr. Richard Wright, JD. And I have worked with students, continued to help students, continued to be there for my students as I am now. And so I said all of that to say to you, so you understand what I mean when I say adversity is the springboard to success. I understand adversity. It drives me, and it drove me to become a successful individual who did not allow situations to bother me. So I am looking forward to being with you guys the next 5.5 weeks. Before I say goodnight, I want to give you a key phrase. And key phrase is something that is very, very, very important to us right now. And constitutional law, it is something I've talked about already, and that is Supreme Court. That's it. Give it to me and you get your points. So with that, we're a little bit over our time. I did pretty good. This is as short as I've been able to get it in. I hope you guys will pay attention to the things that I've shared with you today, what I have expectations for the next 5.5 weeks. And I thank you guys for being patient, for hanging in there with me. I appreciate all of you. Your names here, I see 6 of you right here, for being in the class today, and hope that I'll see you next Tuesday at the same time. And do you have any questions, either of you? Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Okay. All right, guys. Stay safe. in this pandemic. It's very serious, as some people have just found out. And it's sad that every day now we turn on the news, there's another person, you're welcome, that's being affected by this. I pray for everyone that you keep yourself safe and go through and deal with the things that you need to do. Again, I am here. I have an open door policy. I am your professor. I am your instructor. I am your coach. I am your team leader. But above all, I would like to be considered as a friend. Again, if you'd like to connect with me, as several, I know at least one person in this class has, Richard, Wright, JD, if you want to connect with me on Facebook. Okay, so good night, guys. Again, stay safe above all things. See you next week. Good night.